Hey, this is Wolf for Barefoot Bushcraft, and today we're going to do a multiple year review of wearing trad shoes. So the last few years, I have gone down a path of rewilding myself, as they call it today. Doing things like creating buckskin clothing and seeing how it wears out in the woods and out in the wilderness and in my day-to-day life, and doing other various leather work. And then, of course, that got me into making my own shoes. So these are the shoes that I choose to wear, and I pretty much wear them like almost every single day when it's cold outside. I live in a northern climate, so basically what that means is a bunch of times of the year, 6 to 8 months of the year, basically it's really challenging to go without shoes. So our ancestors came up with these. Now, before you start on me and you crack your knuckles and you go all keyboard warrior, they're not bug shoes. Oh, they're not ghillie brogues. They're not Viking shoes. No. I understand, and I get that, and I know that you have your doctorate in medieval foot fetishes, and you have your minor in Vogon poetry, and I understand all that. But know two things when you crack your knuckles and you go all keyboard warrior on these videos. The first thing, of course, we get together as staff and we laugh like crazy at all your silly comments because everyone knows everything about everything but you on the internet. That's the way it is. And of course, the other thing, every comment, like, share, subscribe on these videos helps us make money. The money we make off these channels goes back in from Barefoot Bushcraft to allow people to come to our programs for no charge, specifically young people and children. So it really does help, even though, oh my gosh, the comments are insane. Anyways, so let's get into it. So a couple years ago, I made myself this first pair here. This pair, which, like I said, is made out of a bark tan leather if you're into leather. I had to put crepe rubber on the bottom. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about crepe rubber. So crepe rubber itself, believe it or not, is a natural material. It's not like your modern, whatever brand of shoe that you wear that has the rubber sole on them, which most shoes do. Crepe rubber is actually liquid rubber from the rubber tree that's dripped out and harvested, and then it is laid out on like a little pan, and they make this rubber out of it. So it is 100% natural, even though, obviously, historically, keyboard warriors, get yourself ready. Oh my God, they didn't put plastic on the original shoes. No, they didn't. But where I live, there's a lot of gravel, like a lot of gravel, like kilometers and kilometers of gravel. And it just rips through this leather like it's nothing. So the only way for me to protect these and to wear them for more than a couple of weeks at a time is to put some kind of protector on the bottom. I could have gone with leather, but I do find I just happen to like the crepe rubber. It's really easy to work with. But anyway, so let's get on to the shoe itself. So I often wondered to myself, well, what would happen if I took this and I just wore them like regular shoes, like my ancestors would have worn something that was a similar style. Obviously, these are not 100%, historically accurate and all that nonsense that everybody likes to say, oh, it's not accurate. No, you're right, it's not. But it is historically inspired. So the first thing you, of course, notice is they feel different than a conventional shoe. These fit the modern design of what they call a barefoot shoe because you can feel what's underneath you and all that good stuff. But they work really well for me, and I find for my body type and my shape and all the stuff about me, they work really well. So there's a couple of positives. So, of course, you can feel the ground that you walk on. One of the other positives is the very areas you can see. You can see in some of the other video footage in here, you can see through it. So they're kind of technically a sandal, I suppose. They do cover your toes, which is really nice. So if I go into a place where it's like, you have to wear shoes or you can't come in here, although flip-flops are okay, I can wear these, which is really great. They do offer protection from the cold, of course, which is what they're designed to do. They offer protection from the stones. Again, that's what shoes were originally designed to do. So they have all those benefits, as well with the added benefit of being light and airy, and of course, I enjoy making them myself to a historical style, which is what I like to do. So there's that. So there's some negatives of these as well. Of course, being a sandal, they are not usable for all seasons. Like you can't wear flip-flops, in the middle of the snowstorm for hours on end and be relatively comfortable. Sure, you can, but there's better options. These are really cool because they, one of the benefits of them is, see how I can open them all up really quickly like this, right? So if I want to put thick socks on these and I want to wear these with socks, I can do that. I can open them up, put a thick, heavy sock on, put my foot back into them, and cinch them up over the sock. So now they're going to be better for colder temperatures if I just love wearing them and I love their style. The downside, again, one of the other downsides is, they have no protection against water. So They were originally designed in Scotland, or a version of this was designed in Scotland, so that water would go in and water would go out, hence the name bog shoes. So they were designed to wear in wet areas and wet stuff. Modern day Keen sandal shoes are kind of a very similar design to this, because I've had those and they're really cool. So after a year, what have I noticed, or 2 years, what have I noticed wearing them? Well, they wear like any other shoe, other than they wear out quicker. I do find that usually because of all the stone and the gravel, about every 6 months or so, I'm having to remove this, remove the crepe rubber, and I have videos of me actually removing the crepe rubber, putting more rubber on them. There's different thicknesses of crepe rubber. This here is a thicker, you can see, it's like a 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter or something like that, and this is a little thinner. You can kind of see right there. But they do work. Either way, the rubber does work, and the rubber does protect the sole. So again, one of the other downsides, like I said, other than the cold, is that they're certainly not water resistant, but they weren't really meant for an environment that you're going to be exposed to cold and to water. They also, you know, to compare this to a modern day shoe, they look kind of funky. They look wonky. So if you're going to wear these out in public and you're going to go grocery shopping or wherever in them, know that you're going to stand out. Of course, look how I'm dressed. Of course I'm going to stand out. It doesn't bother me. But if it does bother you, know that these are maybe best for hiking and walking and all that sort of stuff. If you have like weak ankles, or I don't know, any kind of muscular skeletal issues with these, being a barefoot class shoe, what's going to happen with them is you're going to find that they are going to, you know, they're going to cause you some pain in that respect if you choose to wear something like this long term, right? I normally don't wear shoes. I only wear shoes in the cold weather and when I absolutely need to, and really rough and rugged terrain. So I'm kind of okay that way. They don't really bother me. Maybe a plus or a negative, you will find you can feel every little stone, every little pebble, everything underneath it. Speaking of stones, one of the other challenges with these kind of shoes is stuff gets stuck in here all the time. Like if I walk on the beach in these, they're going to pack with sand. If I walk on a stony, gravel surface over time, I will kick up gravel and the gravel will get in these and it's going to get in all your stuff. So do expect them to fill with that and have to empty them all the time. If you're looking for, you know, a reasonable amount of protection on stone and gravel and areas where you can't or don't want to go in your bare feet, and you still want to keep a very traditional style to your look, these are fantastic. You know, and again, I've heard them called all different things because they have been around in society for like well over 1,000 years. They have all kinds of different names. And, you know, probably none of the keyboard warriors who will go and correct all the things I said wrong in this, you're probably not wrong either, but I'm also not wrong. So there's, because something has been around for, you know, centuries and centuries and centuries, they have a lot of local and regional names, right? It's like, you know, it may be Eye of Newt, but it also might be, you know, something else in another area. And it's the same with something like this that's been a part of our culture. So these are big, huge part of ancient European culture. Of course, in North America, here where this was filmed, we have the moccasin, which is very, very similar, but completely closed. And they were built for different environments, right? The moccasin is for areas where you are not going to have the super hot summer heat, and you are going to have extreme cold in the winter, whereas these are great for super hot heat and really suck in the cold weather. But after a couple of years wearing them, I have to say they're just like a regular shoe. You know, if you know your shortcomings for them, you know that they're not going to be as water resistant. Obviously, they've got holes in them. And you know that the soles are, because of the sole material that I've chosen, it is going to wear through on a regular basis. As long as you know that kind of going in, and you know that just traditional and historic shoes require consistent work all the time in order to keep them at the standard and the level you want them, then you're going to be fine. You're going to have no problems at all. Again, these guys here, I walk, 6 kilometers a day in these, and you can see the condition that they're in. You know, again, bark tan leather. Now, it's good leather. It works really well. I have an insole in these. The reason I put an insole in them is because I have done so much sewing on this. You can see all that right there. I've done so much sewing that the insides have a ton of holes that I have to try to compensate for. So that's why inside they've got that. They get dirty and all that stuff just like a regular shoe. But yeah, I've had no real terrible negative experiences. I do like that they look unusual. I like that look, but not everybody likes, a shoe that's foot shaped. Most people like that, traditional point on their shoe. So there you have it. I mean, if you understand the shortcomings of the shoe, you understand they are not 100% historically accurate, keyboard warriors. Thank you for pointing that out in the comment section below. But they do work and they are very unusual. And the big thing is I like to make them myself. So I didn't tan the leather. I didn't kill the animal and tan the leather myself for this. But what I did do is I grabbed all the leather and I made them. And if you have never made your own shoes, it's a really incredible experience. So that's that. That's my couple of year review on these shoes. They work well as long as you don't mind replacing the sole. Again, this is crepe rubber. So crepe rubber is something you have to get at a leather specialty shop. You could use any kind of sole that you wanted. This is Wolf from Barefoot Bushcraft. I want to thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please consider subscribing.